Good morning, everyone. Before I begin the service officially, I'm Rhea Batterman, by the way. I guess everybody knows me by now or not. I want to talk about our dear friend Sue Resitar, who passed away suddenly on Friday night. This is really heart-wrenching for so many of us. She's such a loss to our community, our congregation, our friendship, our love. We're all really devastated by this news, and we're trying to just process it and wrap our heads around this because it was totally suddenly. Anybody who knew Sue's knew she was our sister extraordinaire. I don't know how else to describe her to you, but please take this time and just keep her in your prayers and your hearts and your thoughts for a minute or so I can get my stuff together. Thank you. Good morning again. Today, with ringing our peace bowl, we affirm our collective hope for peace. We acknowledge these lands that we love. They are the ancestral lands of the Yavapai people, the Whippacoppies, the Tokopayas, the Quevapayas, and the Yavapai. I'd like to welcome you all to Granite Peak Universal's congregation in Prescott, Arizona. As I said before, I am Rhea Batterman, your worship associate today. We extend a warm welcome to all. Our guest speaker today is Stephanie Voss. She's my amazing, beautiful niece. And I'll tell you about her a little bit later on. We are glad you're able to join us and hope you are all in good health. It's so lovely to see so many of you here today. It's the first time that I'm doing this in person in quite a few years. Also, hello to all you Zoomers. I'm usually home and checking hi. When I'm home, I usually check to see who's being behaved and on here today, but I can't do that, so. I hope all you Zoomers and all of us can be together again very soon in person. Wouldn't that be great? Oh, there they are. Wow, cool. This is the mission statement of our congregation. We are a compassionate spiritual community that celebrates diversity, the personal and spiritual growth of all ages, shares our gifts, promotes justice for all, and serves the world we live in. Please join us later on to serve after the service for socializing in small groups in the sanctuary. And if you are viewing the service on Zoom, please join us for the breakout rooms. And if you like, you will be able to stay in the main group, and Stephanie will be joining us, and you can speak to her directly and pick her brain. If you're joining us for the first time, please check out our website, prescottuu.org, for more information. However, if you are here in person and would like to get more information, please visit our visitors table, which I think it's back there today. And Kathleen will be very happy to answer any of your questions. Before we begin our service, we have a few announcements. We are a busy congregation, so be sure to read our announcements found in the order of service, the weekly peak, our website, and Reverend Patty's videos for updates and announcements. Our regular weekly Zoom meetings are Together the Forum on Wednesday, faith development classes, Friday lunch, which was usually with Patty, but she's on sabbatical, so Friday lunch now will be with our president, Elaine Hayes. Patty will be returning the beginning of March. Bev and Robert, our children's faith development program leaders, have resumed in-person classes for pre-K in the nursery, and the older children meet at Religious Education Building across the street. Also, a reminder that Prescott Peace Builders is showing the next Movies with Meaning Wednesday at 4:30 on the 23rd in the sanctuary, and the title is Mandela and the Clerk with Sidney Poitier and Michael Caine. So that sounds like a really good one. Now I would like to tell you a little bit about our guest speaker. As I said, Stephanie Voss, who is my beautiful, talented, amazing niece. She told me to say that. She is a clinical hypnotherapist who has been helping people make up their own minds about the way they feel and think and act since 2007. She has worked in person and online with hundreds of clients around the world. And I can attest to that because she personally helped me with some chronic pain issues that I have. So she's really quite special. We begin our service in the Unitarian Universalist tradition of lighting the chalice. Our chalice lighter today is my bestie, Udell Stuckey. Excuse me, allergies. This chalice reading is by Jude Geiger, a UU minister, and it's entitled Joys and Gladness. Gather our spirit, open our hearts, make room this hour for a new story of possibility, of hope, of vision. May this lighting of the chalice be for gladness where we are empty, and joy where we were once dry. Thank you, Udell. We gather together in a spiritual community. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, you are welcome here. May all in need of friendship be comforted. Let us leave our time together, refreshed anew, and carry our shared vision into a wider world. Now please enjoy our opening hymn called Come Healing by Forest Grove United Church. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth, its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve others in community. Thus do we covenant together. And now let us hear from Reverend Patty and Marianne Erickson in a video about our stewardship drive. Oh, there she is.
Good evening, everyone. I wish that I could be with you in person and enjoy the delicious treats that I'm sure are around you and that glass of the beverage of your choice. Thank you for gathering. This is the season when many in our congregation realize that what they think all year, that somehow the magic that happens, the way that our community keeps the lights on and keeps our staff paid, that all of that is by magic. And then there's our stewardship campaign. But you are the ones who realize that the magic is what we bring to this congregation. And I am grateful to the gifts that you have brought over the years that have sustained this place. Our dog is wanting to come up. Okay. Louis must want to say hi. And as you know, with the many memorial services that we have had in this past year, that our loss of membership, although we have lots of visitors on Sunday and people who are wanting to join, that our loss has been difficult for our finances. So Lou and I have decided to double our pledge just this year so that we can try to make up this difference in some way. So I'm challenging you, if you can, to give more this year. I know that Marianne will talk with you about how she had it figured out, a certain percentage. But Lou and I were thinking that this year we haven't been able to do so many things because of the pandemic. We've stayed very close to home and we've eaten at home. And so we have some extra to give. And if that is how you are feeling, I invite you to join us in giving a sizable difference this year. Thank you so much for your generosity. Our congregation is certainly in the hands of all of the generosity that is here among us, that brings us together and that brings us joy. Thank you for the joy you have brought into my life, and Louis thanks you too. I look forward to seeing you in March. Bye.
Hello, Granite Peak members and friends. I'm Marianne Erickson, Stewardship Committee Chair and Campaign Chair for the upcoming Granite Peak Pledge Drive. I recognize the financial and volunteer stewardship that you have provided through the years, and especially during this past year, to keep Granite Peak's ministries, faith development programs, and buildings in peak performance mode and great condition during this long and tiresome COVID pandemic. Despite the difficulties caused by this viral scourge, we have stuck together with activities ranging from choir and music performances to sponsoring Empty Bowls again, the Link Benefit again, the food pantry, as well as holding another successful and fun services auction and showing up for the Women's March and the January 6th event on Courthouse Square. We had a Granite Peak float in the July Rodeo Parade for the first time and have allowed, again, 12-step groups to use our building and continue to sponsor many Earth-centered events, including solstice services and movies that inspire us to protect the environment and our world. In her sabbatical video, Reverend Patty challenged us to do more this year if we have some extra to give in the pledge drive. Hers and Mary Lou's plan to double their pledge for the next year inspires us all to increase our pledges if we can. Reverend Patty mentioned that I have done some calculations to determine how we as a congregation can raise the funds needed to make our pledge campaign goal of $243,851. By all accounts, the average pledge will need to increase by 14% over last year's pledge. Some pledging members and friends will not be able to do that. Hopefully others can do more, as Reverend Patty and Mary Lou are planning to do. Then we may successfully make it to our goal and assure the funding that our next fiscal year operating budget needs. Soon our 20-plus stewards will begin calling on members and friends to accept their pledges and to offer opportunities for feedback as well as information about opportunities for small group ministries, and service opportunities. Thank you for your indirect financial support through Amazon Smile, as well as through the Fry's Community Program, funding the operational expenses of Granite Peak UU congregation is a 365-day per year activity, and it is accomplished in greatest part through our annual stewardship drive, which is funded by your generosity. Please look forward to the call of your steward, and feel free to contact me if you have any questions about stewardship, or if you need more information about our budget. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marianne. Our tradition of joys and concerns may be different now, but we still continue to struggle with sorrows to find joys to celebrate. I'm going to mention Sue's again because I just have to, and I'm going to ask some of our beautiful goddesses to come up and light a candle for her. We know she's out there laughing at us all, but let's take a moment. Oh, Nancy, thanks. These are our goddesses. Just fly away, Suze. We're going to miss you. So you guys on Zoom can't see this, but you could feel it, I'm sure.
We get a big kick out of that.
No, they're having problems lighting matches, too. Oh, man. Thank you. I have a special joy that I'll share with you. My sister Tamara, Stephanie's mom, had fallen a few weeks ago and broke many of her parts. But with your love and prayers for her and all of us together, she's recovering beautifully, and I'm so grateful. Let us be silent a moment for all the concerns and joys not spoken aloud today. May our spirit embrace you and our love fill your heart. So may it be. Now please sing these words of comfort if you are on Zoom, or hum along if you are in person with Walking with You. I won't sing, I promise. As we prepare to take the offering this morning, let us embrace the feeling of connection and community that we have when we are together here each week. Let us remember that this congregation and its programs are supported by your generosity. We also give back to the greater community through our seeds of support. This month's recipient is the Hungry Kids Project in Prescott. Please read about them in the order of service. To give during this distance time, go to prescottuu.org. And on the bottom of the left-hand side of the screen, click the word Donate to contribute. The link is also available in the chat on this video. Now listen to some nice offertory music. Thank you. We acknowledge the generosity of the Spirit expressed through this offering. What is given and loved is received with gratitude. Blessed be. Now I'd like to do a reading before Stephanie speaks to you. And it's called This Body by Kayla Parker. This body is not what it was. I got shin splints from running today. 10 years ago, all I got was smelly feet. My back aches just from sitting these days. In my youth, all my pain came from climbing trees. This body is not what it was, not some alien thrust upon me. So clumsy, always in the way. I know it, and I move like it's mine. Didn't I never walk into the walls from time to time? This body is not what it will be. With all the sagging of old age sets in, and the simple backaches or fun memories. So I'll take what is right now. Not yet frail from old age, but sometimes awkward and weak. Really, it suits what's inside quite nicely. This body is not what it was, and thankfully right now, it seems just to fit me. That was beautiful. And now, please welcome Stephanie Voss, who will speak now about healing through wholeness.
It may be fated, but it's not always easy. I know we've lost a member of the congregation, and it's a time when healing is really necessary. So I'm doubly glad to be here today to talk to you about this. I hope the guided meditation I have at the end that I will invite you to participate in will help us move through wholeness to transform grief into gratitude for the time we've had together. I'm going to begin by introducing myself. My name is Stephanie. I'm your speaker today. And I'm going to ask you to help me participate a little bit by those of you who are here just standing up, saying your name, and introducing yourself to a neighbor with a word or a phrase that explains who you are. So if you wouldn't mind, just take a moment, stand up. If you're on the Zoom, you could go ahead and give yourself a little chat and just say your name and a word or phrase that explains who you are. I'm Stephanie, I'm the speaker today. Good, thank you. So just a word or a phrase that explains who you are, and then we'll sit down again. And if you've put something in the chat, I invite you to notice what other people have put to explain and to introduce themselves. There we go. And it's time to sit down again. One of the things I'm talking about is becoming whole. And in order to do that, we recognize the different parts we divide ourselves in, like the words we use when we introduce ourselves, like the ideas about ourselves that we carry through the world. I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about myself so that you can get to know me. The first thing is that not only is it an honor for me to be here today, but it's also kind of weird. If there were a yearbook award for the person voted least likely to ever give a sermon, I would be holding that today. Not only am I non-religious, for most of my life, I've been actually anti-religious, anti-spiritual. My parents are first-generation Americans. My mom's family was Polish Jews. Most of the family died in the Holocaust. My dad's family were German Lutherans. Some of his family were drafted to serve in Hitler's army. It was World War II armistice at their wedding. One grandmother wanted to put a cross around my neck, the other a Star of David. My folks kept me away from the divisiveness and hate of religion. Belief was not a part of my belief system. It makes sense then that I spent the first decades of my life as a professional skeptic. I was a newspaper reporter and then a licensed private investigator. One side effect of the religious division in my background is that I was raised as an only child. This is more relevant later. My parents wanted to adopt a sibling for me, but their mixed marriage made them ineligible for all the faith-based adoption agencies that handled that in the 1960s. So I was the only daughter, which meant that I got all the traits that are usually divided up among siblings. I was the athletic one and the clumsy one. I was the smart ass and the earnest good kid. I got to be the shy poet and the one who belted out show tunes. There's something about having so many roles that made me appreciate that none of them were complete. There was always a part of me that didn't fit in, no matter where I was or what I was doing. So I stand before you today as a woman who has spent 15 years working with clients to heal, which literally means to become whole, and as the girl who giggles at the thought of giving a sermon. I'm the human being who wants, more than anything else in the world, to find a place where I belong, and the person who, like Groucho Marx, would never join a club that would admit me. As Walt Whitman said, do I contradict myself? Yes, very well, I contradict myself. I am large. I contain multitudes. One reason it's so good to talk to this group about wholeness is because as a congregation, you exemplify the power of coming together. Separately, could you accomplish so much? Could you make such beautiful choral music? Could you create and fill so many bowls? The UU is definitely greater than the sum of its parts. Our country was based on this idea. We need more of it, right? E pluribus unum, out of many, one. What I have to offer is a little bit about how coming together works for individuals too. My work has been all about helping people find their strength in accepting and even loving the bits and pieces that make up the patchwork of their lives. The act of choosing wholeness is a spiritual one. And I find myself in the position of having been spiritual all along. I didn't always understand this. When I became a clinical hypnotherapist, I, like the song says, wanted to fix people. I thought of the brain as a computer and the problem as a software thing that was going wrong. I used hypnosis to kind of bypass that, get down into the operating system, make a little tweak, fix people, and send them on their way. And it often worked, but something was missing. My understanding shifted with each new client and each new skill. Real transformation seems to involve more than the mind. I began to consider myself a mind-body worker, involving the body in healing. Hypnotists are fond of saying things like, the issues are in your tissues. We hold our trauma in our body, and many of us realize this. We had to include the body in healing. Sometimes when I'm dealing with someone with a habit they don't like, we involve the different parts of the body and actually speak to them directly. The hands of a smoker may refuse to lift that cigarette up to your mouth again. Sometimes we invite the body simply to repair itself as it knows how to do. My motto became, you can't think your way out of a feeling. After a while, I began to realize there was yet another level, that the most effective work went even deeper, or higher really. There is the mind, the body, and something that transcends the duality between them, whatever it is that makes us individually greater than the sum of our parts, what it is that makes us whole, wholly ourselves, and ultimately holy. The word holy now has a connotation of saintly or sacred. It originally just meant whole. The holy doctrine was a doctrine that you were supposed to embrace completely. You weren't allowed to pick and choose which parts you wanted to follow. And I say now, to be a healthy individual, we need to make the same rule, to have faith in your whole self, to accept your whole self, to love your whole self. So here's my question for you this morning. Who do you think you are? Or put it this way, when you introduced yourself, what word or phrase did you use? Did you describe yourself by your occupation? How many people mentioned that? Did you describe yourself by the feeling you're experiencing today? Yeah. One of the interesting things about our culture now is that our occupation is so often, or our former occupation, for those of us who are retired, one of the first things we find out about each other, right? It's often a code for status or class. If someone says to you, "Hi, I'm Carol, I'm a librarian," you already know a great deal about them, more than just their job. That description stimulates your neighbor to imagine your education, your income level, your home, even maybe the art you have on your walls. We use these things as shortcuts because we're searching for commonalities and ways to connect with one another. Here in Prescott, I've noticed that one of the first things people will start sharing is where they've come from, because so many people aren't natives, or even what community they live in now, which is also a shortcut to those same things. Did anyone here mention their preferred pronouns, introducing themselves? That's become something of a shortcut, not only in who you are, but how important you think other people are in the world and what kind of a space you want to make for them to be accepted. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourselves again, here in the room standing up or on chat by mentioning something about yourself. But I'm going to ask you to mention something different this time, something you may not always share, to take a moment to think about a part of yourself that is important to you, that you'd like somebody else to recognize. So take just a moment, think of one word or two that you could explain something else about yourself and share it either online or with somebody here. So go ahead and I'll wait. I'm Stephanie, and I'm missing the tree that I used to sit in as a kid. How about you? Come on, let's participate. Think of something else about yourself. Hi. For those of you who are at home, people are learning, gardening, sharing, finding out things about each other that we might not have known. And now you can come and sit down and join the group again. We have this beautiful little bowl, which I'm going to abuse right now. As we do this exercise, it's okay. You get to sit down. You won't miss anything. As we do this exercise, it's just nice to notice the little parts of ourselves that don't always get involved or invited when we meet other people. At the end of the service, you'll have a chance to hang out and chat with either me or amongst yourselves, and I'll invite you to think of yet another way to introduce yourself that shows a side you might not always let out. And you can be playful with this. There are so many choices, so many ways you can think of yourself, so many parts you have inside. You could mention your ethnicity or tribe. Did anyone share their political party? Your hobbies. Are you a musician? A Capricorn? Remember them when that was the first thing you led with? Are you a Swiftie? A friend of Bill? Do you have pets? What about your role in the family? You might be a parent, an aunt, or an uncle. You're somebody's child. Are you the favorite one? Are you the middle? There's a whole range of psychology that thinks that's the most important thing about you. What about your body? Did you mention, I'm left-handed? Or I'm a cancer survivor? Or I started life out as a redhead? Inside every person is a cast of dozens, if not hundreds. When I discovered something we call parts therapy, I began to help more clients transform quickly, moving into the items and actions they were seeking, whether it was conquering a habit like smoking, or a fear or phobia like being afraid of needles or flying or small spaces, and even in some cases, allergies or chronic pain. When we're stuck in an unnecessary loop, a pattern of thoughts or behaviors or sensations, it's always because somewhere inside of us, there's a part that thinks that is necessary. Every single part of us loves us and wants to help. The problem is most of our parts in our subconscious are like 6 years old, and they're not very good at doing the thing they want to do. It's funny, but almost always when I'm working with someone, the part inside that is creating this negative habit wants exactly the opposite. It's so interesting. A great example is smoking cigarettes, which is a common thing that people come to hypnotists for. Maybe most of a smoker's parts want to quit. There might be somebody in you who wants to be healthy, one who is vain and wants great skin, one who's afraid of getting sick. But there's also that rebel inside who doesn't want to be nagged or told what to do. Or maybe it's just the part inside that wants an excuse to duck out of boring meetings and get a breath of fresh air. The thing is, all of those things are parts of one person. As long as one of you is holding out, it's hard to get anywhere. The best way to make change is to create a harmony amongst all those parts and have them work wholeheartedly towards the same goal. The same way as a congregation, when you unite, you can accomplish almost anything. A lot of my work involves creating a kind of dreamscape where we get to hold a little meeting of the mind and invite the different parts to come through. They're kind of like multiple personalities. As a kid, I was actually kind of obsessed with those. Maybe it was being an only child and missing that companionship, but I used to want to be like Sybil or All About Eve. Now I think of them more like all the kids in your classroom. And there's only one kid allowed to be at the front speaking at a time. And usually we call in the same 3 or 4 parts to represent us throughout every occasion in our life. You don't get to be whole or wholeheartedly in favor of something until you recognize those kids sitting in the back. I see you. For some people, this involves putting their best face forward, like the people you see on Facebook or Instagram who only post those wonderful happy moments. And then there are the people who only post the terrible tragic things and seem to be always complaining. Both of those are honoring different parts of themselves that need something from their relationships. To be whole, we have to find the pieces of ourselves and put them back together. This wholeness is something that religion has understood, that I begin to understand now in a different way. The Greeks had multiple gods and goddesses, the Norse representing all different aspects of our lives. Christianity offers, in some branches, that wonderful Trinity that I never understood until recently. That makes sense in a way, because they're all aspects of the same thing. The rituals religions offer are also things that I've come to respect as a hypnotist, because I'm always making suggestions that turn out to be kind of things that people have been doing for thousands of years without me. I ask people to take a few deep breaths before they eat and think about what's in front of them. Not that different from saying grace. Or I ask people to ask themselves a question all day, asking, what wonderful thing will I notice? And then at the end of the day, going through that list and creating a feeling of gratitude for all the things you have found. What's that but saying a prayer before bedtime? I find that we can notice so much when we include all the different parts of ourselves. I've been surprised in sessions when we open that portal and see what's there for someone that might surprise me. Sometimes it's that classic rebel wearing a motorcycle jacket and smoking. Sometimes the characters are of mythic proportion. A wizard might appear, or a dragon. One time a samurai popped up out of nowhere and startled myself and my client both. Sometimes the most profound shifts come simply when we let go of the illusion that these parts are separate. Is there a part of you that has been holding you back in some way? A part of you that has been arguing with what the rest of parts of you wanted? The way to do that, the way to deal with that, is to invite that part to come forward and maybe find a better way to give it what it wants. I invite rebels, for example, to rebel against the tobacco industry rather than their mom or dad. I invite people who are wanting to lose weight to rebel against the patterns we're given of celebrating with chocolate cake. I mean, you can celebrate with chocolate cake, but you can celebrate with watermelon too. Why not? All groups have some of the same dynamics. Even this congregation, the same few kids come up to the front of the class and do the work every time. What would happen if you stepped forward, if you haven't already, and did something that you haven't done before? What if you started introducing yourself once in a while with the things that matter to you? This week, as I was talking about parts, I spoke to a friend and mentor of mine, a hypnotist and a creative writing teacher, who sometimes, well, actually every day, speaks to the vibrational plane of the universe and asks for guidance. This is what she wrote back. You asked about wholeness in relation to the parts in which personality is often split, whether it's the hurt child or the embattled warrior, the compromiser or the self-punisher, or any of the many other pieces that make up their puzzle. The healthiest beings are those who do not slip into a reaction to the challenges or loss in life, but call forth their whole self, the sum of their experiences, as well as the quiet center that exists to be found. Before all of the experiences that may have injured or frightened you as you began life, you were a being forming, then born, that watches, learns, and takes emotional shape. You watch others for cues and clues. You study expressions, the sounds of voices. Are they angry or soothing? What do they feel like in your little body? Slowly, you devise strategies for dealing with the outside world. But you must not forget the inside world, deeper and more still, not at the mercy of all that noise. When you find the center, you can watch the pieces put themselves aside and create a wholeness lighted up from the inside, igniting your bones, remembering what is important: love, caring, connection. And now I'm going to invite you to move into wholeness by reconnecting with a short little guided meditation. You can listen however you like. You can participate and close your eyes. You can follow every word and instruction, or you can just let the words wash over you and see what happens. This is designed to connect the head, the heart, and the gut, all the different parts of ourselves, so that we can move forward through this day, through this loss, through this connection, feeling whole. And so I invite you now just to bring your hands to your heart and gently close your eyes. And just notice that connection, and let that feeling create relaxation as you tune into the breath. Just simply notice the way your hands rise and fall with the breath. Nothing to change or manage. However you're doing it is right. Inhale, rise. Exhale, fall. As you sink into this moment, sink into the surface beneath you. Notice the way the relaxation becomes deeper, and allow the rise and the fall of the breath to slow and to sync with all the people with you here in the room and watching on Zoom. And as you relax even deeper, I invite you to keep one hand on your chest and place another gently on your forehead, simultaneously making contact with your heart and your head. And just notice the way you feel in this moment, the rise and fall of the breath. And I invite you to imagine a tiny little elevator, a body elevator moving with the rise and fall of your breath, up to the head as you inhale, and back to the heart on the exhale. With each breath moving heart energy and feeling up to the head, and head energy and thinking down to the heart. It happens on its own as you just breathe. And as you do, you might imagine the beautiful color or sound that represents the feelings in your heart. A color that represents thoughts in your head. And as you breathe, as the elevator moves up and down, these colors intermingle to create clarity of thought and infuse peace into feeling as the head and heart synchronize and harmonize with one another, blending into thinking and feeling. And now I invite you to move the hand on your forehead down to your belly, just below the waist. One hand staying on your heart as the hand on your belly rests on the area of vitality, reproduction, creativity, your pure spirit, childlike playfulness. And as you breathe in, that little body elevator moves up from your belly to your heart, bringing with it vitality and life itself. And the exhale moves energy from the heart down to the belly, so you get a compassionate and empowering revelation about old emotions that lets you laugh at the small things that used to bother you, infusing vitality and playfulness into the feelings and compassion into the emotions. Breathing in takes the elevator up from belly to heart, infusing you with even more joy. Breathing out flows energy from heart to belly as you simply witness your emotions with compassion and non-judgment. And now you can invite the color that matches the playful vitality of the belly to move up on the inhale as the color of compassionate heart energy moves down and the sounds harmonize, the color intermingles. And all of this continues to move all the way up to the head and then back down through the heart and the belly. Playful, creative vitality moving all the way up through the heart to the head, cleansing thoughts and feelings with an empowered perspective of compassion. You're no longer divided into thoughts or feelings, gut instincts, but each part of you connects with the other, letting the shadows, the lights, the colors and sound interplay. And now I invite you to think about one other person who is here in the room or attending on Zoom, someone you know, perhaps someone who is feeling sad today or lonely. And imagine that without speaking, you could simply step into their body elevator and notice it working perfectly, moving up and down, letting that synchronize with your own elevator, so that as you move up from the belly to the heart to the head, you're riding with them. And simply say to them in your mind, I see you. I'm glad you are here. And that's right. And now there are dozens of people in this room and online. And I ask you to imagine for a moment that every single one of these people, every body here, and every being inside those bodies chose you to focus on. Feel our presence in the room with you as we simply witness you in peace. Whatever you're going through, we say, I see you. I'm glad you are here. And something amazing is about to happen. And we can simply ride for a moment up and down, feeling the breath move, feeling the ideas, the images, and the awareness our desires, moving everybody with you here today. And I invite you to behold the gift you have given yourself, the gift you are allowing yourself to receive, the gift of noticing with non-judgment that we're all on similar journeys, moving up and down, back and forth, together and alone. And let the breath take you to peace and acceptance. And whenever you're ready, you can lower your hands, take a nice deep breath. And as you exhale, just release everything that doesn't serve you and breathe in the peace that we send each other today. Those who are not here are with us because that's just science. That's not spirituality. There is a law of conservation of matter. There is a law of conservation of energy. Everything transforms, but nothing is lost. I wish you peace, and I thank you so much for allowing me to join you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Hope she took you to the place she took me to. For those present in the sanctuary, please feel free to stand in body or spirit and hum along with your masks on. And of course, on Zoom, just shout it out and listen to the last song. It's feeling groovy, and I hope you all do. Thank you, everybody. Now I'd like to call my bestie Udell up to extinguish the chalice. I know this service was a bit odd, but we extinguish our chalice. Our worship time has ended today, and now our service begins. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Now I invite you again to greet your neighbor. And for those on Zoom, please stay on if you like, your choice, of course. Steffi will be in the main room for anybody who wants to chat with her or here, feel welcome. We're going to make some kind of circle. I'm not sure exactly what, but we'll do something. And is there anybody here for the first time? Oh, hi, would you like to stand and introduce yourself? Thank you, welcome. Anybody else here? Welcome, Kayla. Thank you. Okay, guys. So I bid you farewell and stay healthy. And I love you guys. This place has been an inspiration for me. Thank you. Bye, Zoomies. Well, hello, Zoomies.